I'm dying. Are we rolling there?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back again to this Dagger video series where... Well, that was really cheesy. Video series! Welcome back to this Dagger video series. We are now ready to begin sculpting the bolster and getting some final shape on the handle before I start the hand sanding on the Damascus. This is a frame handle construction. If you're not familiar with what that is, go check out the last couple of videos to find out. The cool thing about this type of construction of having what's called an heirloom fitted fit between the handle and the bolster or guard is that everything has to be made in separate pieces. I can't just glue this thing together as a block and grind it all down flush because of the type of fit that I'm going for. It's just such a subtle detail, and that one small detail changes the way that I have to make this knife. What are you looking for?
Those are mine. What did the tape on it?
Now that I've got this bolster area ground down to a 320 grit finish and it's the final shape that I want, I can go ahead and trace out around this mammoth so I can get that heirloom fit and get the same shape around these scales as the bolster. Do. Now that everything is matching up, I've got an heirloom fit. Well, I still need to round over that sharp edge, but I'll do that after I do hand sanding. Right now this is straight off the grinder still. Everything is grinder finish. I haven't started the hand sanding process yet. It's just getting everything where it needs to be, and then it's just refining that. And we're almost to that point now. What I'm going to do next to add a little bit more detail to this handle is carve in a slight radius here, which will just continue the radius of this curve. Carve in a little bit and sculpt that out. Not very deep. Now all I need to do is not mess up. So I'm just going to go really carefully and kind of work my way up to the line. I also don't want to get too deep, and I also want to fade it out right here. That's nice and smooth, ain't it? Fade that into there. That carving seemed to go pretty well. I used a round bit. It's round all the way, so it made a nice radius along here, and I just kind of went in there and tapped it to get nice even carving all the way around there. And now I can go in with sandpaper and get into that groove and sand all that up, and it'll look really nice. But I'm happy with how that turned out. I think it's a nice touch to the overall look of the knife, like that. This ivory was actually really nice and easy to carve. Some wood, I've done some wood, and it seems to be actually a little more difficult than the ivory. I was kind of nervous about doing the carving in the ivory, but after I started grinding into it a little bit, it was fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the hand sanding. I'm using this rubber-backed sanding block, and I can take that edge right up into that hard section, and it'll kind of conform to the round radius. It won't make a sharp edge. This ivory is sanding out so nicely. Like, ivory is so cool. It's a really hard material, but it's really easy to sand and grind and work with, so long as you don't get it too hot. So I'm going, this is 400 grit, so I'm going straight from this rough Dremel texture to 400 grit, and it's not a problem, which is nice. See how that's already getting nice and smooth in there. Yeah, when you put oil on wood or ivory or whatever, it usually shows you the grit lines that you missed. So every once in a while I'll put some oil on there, and it shows up what you still need to sand. There we go. Nice. I'll use 1,000 grit or 1,500 grit after this, and that'll probably be the final grit. I don't think I need to go higher. And then, of course, do a buff. Got it. Okay. The frame is really flexible, so if I just barely, you can see, it's really flexible. So whenever I put pressure on the grinder, it's either flexing that in or something, and then it sticks, and then I grind it all together, and then when I take it apart, put it back together, it's different. So just the nature of this material, this frame, I think it's too flexible to do a dry fit, to completely finish this handle dry, take it apart, put it back together, and glue it. I don't think it's going to match up perfectly flush. So what I'm going to do is glue together with, you know, good epoxy, like a final glue that won't come apart. I'm going to glue up these 3 pieces, just like this. Let that cure, and then work this as one solid block to a finished handle. I don't need to take it apart at this point anymore, so I'll be good to go to glue this up, and then I can come back in after that's finished and this is etched, and bada boom, finished handle. I'm drilling some little holes into the frame of the handle, nothing that will affect the structural integrity of the handle, but this will actually add structural integrity to the handle. These little holes are going to act as places for epoxy to help adhere the frame to the ivory. It just creates more surface area and more channels that lock in the epoxy. It's almost like a mechanical lock, as like a pin basically. That glue is going to go through those holes and create a pin made out of epoxy. Swiss cheese action. Alright. So I've just hollowed out those back pieces. That'll make a nice pocket for epoxy to sit in, and it'll create a really, really strong hold on that tang and handle, rest of the handle. Now, of course, I left the front flat so the tang still has something to sit on flat, so it's not just wobbling up and down in there. And of course, that pocket, so it can't slide out of this flat front section there. So it'll just be gripping onto that tang. Is that a bug I hear? Oh, no. No. He's down. It's a horsefly. Oh. Okay. I'm going to sort of target these holes, get some epoxy in there. And you're probably wondering right about this point, what am I going to do about these pins, these metal pins I need to put through? Because those need to go through there to align all of that, but they also need to be taken out because I'm going to do domed pins. They're not going to be flush, so I need to be able to take those pins out after this sets up. So what I'm going to do is cover them in petroleum jelly, and they will not adhere to the epoxy that way. And as this glue is drying, over the next few hours throughout the day, I will come in and move those pins around just so I know that that petroleum jelly is through the hole and it's not gluing to anything. It's a good idea to just move it around a little bit. Alrighty folks, that handle is glued up for the first glue up. It's not the final glue up, of course, because I've got the knife in my hand here without a handle on it. But that is something that I think will help make a better fit in the end, is having that frame glued up to the handle. And with frame handles that I've done in the past, I haven't had to do that because the frame wasn't that flexible, but I was just finding that that frame was flexing and it was affecting the fit. And honestly, I haven't done many frame handles, so I don't have a ton of experience with it. And this is I probably should have glued that a little bit earlier on, but it doesn't make a big difference. It's all going to turn out good now. So that is curing, and I'm going to go ahead and get to the next step in this series, which is going to be making some domed mammoth ivory pins that will be inlaid into the spine. So I've got some scrap pieces of fossilized woolly mammoth ivory here. What I'm going to do is turn them into pins of different diameters, inset into the Damascus steel here, and they'll be raised and domed. So it'll be like studs, and it'll be cool. It's going to be super cool. So stick around for the next part in this video series where I'm going to be doing that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe and share with your friends so we can keep making videos like this. If you're looking for knife maker supplies, then go check out what I recommend in the description below through my Amazon affiliate links. Alright, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.